What it do, beautiful people, my melanated kings and queens. Welcome to It's Just the Conversations. I am your host, Justa Verse. Let's converse.
Yeah, I love it when you talk, baby. You're so smooth, like butter, cocoa. This is just a conversation. Tell me about it, do my word and observation. That's all the love to be patient. But we gon' take it, we gon' not be complacent. We can run a race, that's part of history and all our innovation. We just having conversation. Tell me about it, do my word and observation.
What it do, beautiful people, my melanated kings and queens. It's another episode of It's Just the Conversations. As I told you before, every week you're going to get a one-on-one with a different host that's on this show. On the third Thursday, you're going to get all of us as a unit, you know. So if Jay happens to be your favorite, then you need to make sure you tune in every second Thursday so you can get Jay. You feel me? What it do, Jay?
What up? What's going on?
How has your new year been? How has this little break been for you?
It was good, man. It was relaxing. I got at least the last 3 weeks of the month off as far as everything. And so that was great. The month of December. I had a good time, had some challenges, but overall we overcame by the grace of God. And I got to meet up with my peoples.
That's right.
Just the verse.
Parking lot love, you know what I'm talking about?
Parking lot love. We had to pull up.
So she ain't, you know what I'm talking about?
She said, pull up on me.
That's right. I know it's real when you pull up on me in the parking lot, you know what I'm talking about? But when you love people, you got to make it do what it do, you know? Yeah. Pull up on me. So, this week we're going to jump right in. We're going to be talking about Black culture. All right. So the first thing I did when I reached out about Black culture is I went ahead and typed in define Black culture. I would like to note that as I typed in define Black culture, it automatically pulled up African American culture. Right. So it says African American culture, also known as Black culture, refers to the contributions of African Americans to the culture of the United States, either as part of or distinct from mainstream American culture. The culture is both distinct and enormously influential on American and global worldwide culture as a whole. I then went and posed the question on Facebook, and I got a couple people that had answers. We had my girl Kristen, who said the nuances in our language, how we act, how we dress, and how it influences just about every way the world moves. Cue all the smoke, Fletcher, because he always is ready for all the smoke. Bring it to him if you want to. He said, I always say that this is very eclectic and therefore it can't be defined as one thing, but encompasses all things. Black culture is very regional as the experiences of each are very unique. What is universal is the creativity that comes out of the chaos that was imposed on us by our oppressors. So that's how I define Black culture. The creative and artistic tension to survive and thrive under the most oppressive circumstances. Finally, we have my boy, he goes to Spoken L on Facebook. You also know him as Carolina Breeze. He was here last season on one of our lyrics and poetry. He said the planet, our arts, our creativity, vibe, swag, hair, athleticism, this, etc. Okay, so that just showed me that people's definitions are different yet the same. So what about you, Jay? What's your definition of Black culture?
So I like the fact that you went and polled and even looked it up, because it's really going to determine how you define it, whether we're able to look at it I guess sort of like in a careful way. So for me, I feel like the word culture is sort of like either Bigfoot or a unicorn. I go with Bigfoot. Bigfoot being is that everybody thinks that they saw it at some point in time, they experienced it, but when you're asked for the evidence, it's like, well, it varies, right? It's different. Right. When you saw it, what time of day you saw it, what it looked like, it varies. And so we're never able to kind of pin it down really. So I can only give you what I believe culture is, and I would like to start before Black culture. I would like to kind of like define what I believe culture is, period, and then we can get in Black culture. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So I relate culture to, because it's hard for me to kind of pin it down. Like I said, it's like Bigfoot, but I see culture as a bag, right? And there are, this is a kind of crude visual, but there are two types of bag I think that culture falls in. One would be ethnicity, and the other would be common struggle or something that happens. So I would say common struggle or ethnicity, right? And the interesting thing about those bags are that there are items within that bag, right? That could contain religious practice, rituals, style of dress, music preferences, certain certain things like the way do certain things, euphemisms, the way we use words, all of those things go in the bag. And so you may have two people with the same ethnicity bag, but the items may be slightly different. And I'll give you an example, right? Let's say two people are African American, right? And they identify both parents are they're descendants of slaves, and they're in this culture in, let's say, southern part of America. You know that you shouldn't put your purse on the floor, right? And that's kind of
Right.
like a
That's gonna
common
mess up
thing.
your money. Stop playing
Is
games with me.
exactly, don't put your purse on the floor, even if the floor
Right.
is clean. That had nothing to do with that. Just don't put your purse on the floor.
Yeah.
And so
It's gonna
that
mess
may
up your
be
money.
exactly that may be an element in the bag. Or,
Mhm.
man, my hand itching, man. Somebody finna give me some money. You know what I'm saying? So this
Cash.
exactly colloquialisms. Another good example would be this: when you about to make greens, right? You got to wash those greens, and nobody want the grit and the sand in them. That's a way, like I say, a style of cooking. You know what I'm saying? And so they may have those type of things, but a Black person, African American from the north and the African American from the south, that maybe they're both African American, they may look at things a different way. One, whenever you see somebody in the south, you speak, you say what's up. It doesn't even matter, right? And then up north, they may just not say a word. They might just go like that. So the elements in the bag may be different, but it's kind of like the same bag. And then you have the common struggle bag, and you could look at that as far as Blacks here in America, and then those who came once African Americans were fighting for rights, because those individuals had problems as well, where they weren't allowed to do certain things, right? It wasn't the same bag as African Americans, but they were like, so they didn't have the same elements, but the struggle was kind of still the same. So their bags were very close together. That's how I look at it. And then you have a situation where you have cultural appropriation, is when you get a bag that may have the same color, the same handle, but it's a different brand, right?
Right.
Rather than Fendi, right? It's Fendi, right? And so we like, okay, when you see that, nah, bro, you just pretending like you ain't balling, you pump
Right.
faking, like this
Right.
ain't even what it is, and you know that. Or another type of cultural appropriation is when you take things out of one group's bag, you put it in yours, and then pretend like it's always been in there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
having that bag imagery is sort of what kind of helps me understand Black culture, because you have Black people who may share the same ethnicity or the same common struggle, but then there's different bags. Like one may be a Christian, one may be a practitioner of Islam or Buddhism or Hinduism, right? So the religion is not the same, right?
Right.
One of them might be vegan, the other one's like we eat this type of food, so it'll be different, it'll vary, right? And so it's you have to kind of look at it. And like I said, I only gave two: a common struggle and ethnicity. There might be a third one, but those are the ones that I can clearly see. So does that make sense?
That makes sense. And as you okay. So a lot of times I will see arguments or hear arguments about Blackness and who's Black. And Black Americans will often be upset with, let's say, an African who says, I'm not Black. and they're not understanding that Black automatically in people's minds triggers African American. So that American is what they're detaching themselves from. It's not the melanin versus the lack of melanin, but it's the American that they're separate. So yeah, basically it comes down to immigrants and products of immigrants tend to not want to connect to the African American experience. And a lot of times it has to do with the headache that comes along with it, I think. You know what I'm saying? Not the headache from other African Americans, but if you can live in this little bubble where you believe that you're different, then maybe, just maybe, if I say, you know what I'm saying, in Spanish, you might not shoot me, you might just tase me really, really bad, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So, but yeah, it's just as important as it is to understand culture. I think in order for us to talk about Black culture, we have to understand how different people look at Black. Oh, that was what I was getting to. So there was this post that a childhood friend of mine shared. Now I gotta find it again. I think I remember the basis of it though. She was asking all of Caribbean and African people their opinions. Someone had made the statement to her that immigrants and products of melanated immigrants and products of melanated immigrants demonstrate self-hate when they say that they don't want to date basically an African American. They don't want to date outside of what they're saying is culture. And she posed the question of, if that's self-hate, and what I compared it to, because understanding that it's not a melanated thing, it's not a melanin thing, it's a culture thing. I equate it to a Catholic not wanting to marry someone who's not Catholic, a Jewish person not wanting to marry someone who's not Jewish. It's pretty much a Republican not wanting to marry a Democrat. Nobody's gonna look at them and be like it's self-hate. They're understanding that our beliefs are different. You use the example of the Greens. Something as simple to some, but as great to me as not wanting to be with somebody who refuses to wash their chicken. You ain't gonna kill me. Your cultural experiences. I'm gonna need, and then you mentioned certain people from different places to this stuff. They're Black people, and when I say wash their Black Americans still maybe some salt, right? And that I talk to, I say it and they're exactly. I use lime or lemon, salt, and vinegar. All three I'm going in. You feel me? Like, we're going to clean this because we're going to get this to goddess, because cleanliness is next to godliness. So we right up under when we finish with this chicken, But there's different things like that, and I think not understanding this, and it's more on the American side. I think that the misunderstanding comes, and there's no diss to anyone. These are just experiences. Not having that understanding ends up causing a divide within us before we even get outside to those who are appropriating and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you just think about it, like, let's say you're a new student in school. I like to use anecdotes to explain, my view on things. I feel like it's easier for you to get a story and kind of grasp than me just giving you all the fancy, 50-cent words. But I look at it as though you go to a new high school and you don't know nobody. You don't know nobody, right? And there are some people that you look like you might be able to identify with them, but you don't know them enough yet to be able to have that conversation. But imagine that your first day of school, there's a huge fight. A huge fight. I mean, I'm talking about people getting knocked out, blah, left and right. Boom, boom. You find people
Big
falling out.
fight.
And all of a sudden, somebody on one of the sides that you thought you could identify with but you don't really know them. They're like, yo, come on, what you waiting for? Come over here. Everybody getting knocked out. And then you see people running around chasing after you to knock you out. You like, hold on. I don't want nothing to do with this. Bro, I ain't said nothing. I just got here. You have to think about that when people come over here to this country. They're walking into a 300, 400-year-old fight like that people have been fighting for. And when they get here and they start to experience those things, and then they look around and they're like, no. I don't come here for that. I don't come here for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what they came here for. They came here to make sure when they get their money, they send it back home and make sure they people straight. They ain't come here for all that political, all this other stuff. So I understand. In a way, I understand, but at the same time, like, you in a new environment and you were subject to whatever happens in that environment. Like a perfect example, there's TV shows where people get locked up abroad. When you get locked up for doing something illegal in that country, they don't want to hear, oh, well, I just got here and I didn't know, and I'm just an American. They're like, no, that was your job to figure out what it's like here before you got here, right? So you see lots of Americans getting locked up in North Korea, in Dubai. I remember one guy, I forgot, I think he's a producer. He had like a half an Ambien on him when he went into Dubai, spending months in prison for that. Right. The same thing with Sister Griner. Right. It's the same thing. It's, you know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? Like, so you, even though you get here, you don't know what's going on. It's still your business to know about where you're going, what's happening, where you're going. So I do understand it, but at the same time, like, if you get knocked out, like, it's just what it is. You just look like the people that they fight against. So if you get hit, you get hit. So you either gotta, bob and weave, or you gotta get down and lay down. So I understand,
And the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you specifically, is because we're both products of American fathers and West Indian mothers. So we kind of get a little bit more of the West Indian side because, man, folks they be dominating their culture. You learn. But when you look at something on TV and think to experience it yourself. I know for me, I told you, I'm taking the holistic approach. And no, it's not marijuana, but I'm taking the holistic approach on calming my anxiety because this murder that recently took place, it has gotten me on it has me on a constant state of anxiety, in a constant state of anxiety. I see things but something about when I'm passing by a police officer that'll automatically trigger certain things inside of me because of personal experiences that I've had over the years or have witnessed over the years. And so I have a different reaction than, say, my mother would have. Like, now, yeah, she understands things better now, but when I asked my mom about, and my mom is super, super light. She's super light, y'all. And I asked her about her experiences when she came to America and what her, and her experiences are completely different from my father's experiences. Yeah, she caught some racism here and there, but she was really light, so therefore she was acceptable. I think I may have told the story before, but she was she walked ahead of her grandfather into a store, and she's looking, I think it was for a wallet or something. He comes in, they're not bothering her, she's doing her thing, whatever the case may be. He comes in, and they go over to help him, because I want to say who I think he's white. I think it was her grandfather. And if that's the case, then he was white. But whatever it was, they asked, do you need any help? And he said, I'm here with my granddaughter or great niece or whoever it was that she was with. And as soon as he pointed and you see her, we don't have what you're looking for. We don't have that in here. And that was like her experience with racism. She came over and she was up north or whatever. On the other side, my dad, being born here, being raised here, he has a whole lot more stories of what he's seen and what he's experienced. So coming here, a lot of times people come with a certain level of naivety and how they think things go. Now, this has changed since 2020 because 2020 made it blatant. It was in your face. Like we had nothing else to do but film and post the foolishness that was going on out here. So but prior to 2020, a lot of the immigrants that came over, they had this idea of the streets are paved with gold. And all you got to do is get here and get a job and grind your way to the top and you straight. There's no real, it's all up to you. It's how you do things. Whereas people who were born here, they understand the barriers that are placed in front of them from birth. They're told they're not good enough. If you were born in Jamaica where everyone around you somebody recently, I can't remember which person it was someone famous that said they didn't even really hear the term black. I want to say they come from Africa, but
Ghana.
They didn't even hear
1619 project.
It was on the 1619 project?
Yeah, the guy from Ghana.
Okay, all right.
About no race.
I'm so glad you watched it because I keep telling people to watch it and they just won't watch it. But we're talking about, I didn't even know the term for real till coming over here. You don't experience that. And then when you ask a lot of people what Black culture is, a lot of times you'll hear either it's overcoming what white folk did, or you'll start hearing it's the entertainment. Now, where I think that these are included in there, I think it's so much more. So much more. For me, Black culture starts without white people being involved at all. We can talk about what they did, but I think when we talk about what they did, because Black to me is more than just being in America. For me, when we get to talk about those things, I'm talking about our culture as a melanated people, and they came in and tried to stop our culture. Then we persevered to keep our culture and develop and grow a new branch of our culture within this country when we were taken from Africa and brought over here. Now we're here, so now we're going to add and grow that and make this part great as well. Thinking beyond, like, I don't automatically connect white folk to Black culture in any way, shape, or form. You tried to stop our culture, and what we did was we made it even doper, which is what we tend to do anyway. I I was watching something, and every time they talked about, it was a documentary. And every time they talked about somebody being cool, and they would show a white person being cool. Oh, they were really cool back in the back in the day, whatever the case may be. And they show old videos or whatever. And all of them, when you tell them to act cool, they start to act Black, right? They start the you know what I'm saying? It's just a certain, or you know what I'm saying? It's just connected in so many different ways. It's our history. It's the way we cook our food. It's our different complexions. It's our music. It's our dance. It's our athleticism. It's our church culture, religious culture, belief culture, as different as they may be. Growing up Seventh-day Adventist, I go to one Seventh-day Adventist in this conference, and I'm in there and I'm out of there by 12:30, and that's a late day. I go to this church and this other conference, and I barely have time to eat before it's time to come back for AY because we stayed until 3 o'clock. So different things. What's up?
No, I was just thinking. I was listening to what you're saying. I was just
I
thinking.
know, but you're thinking because I want to know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, even if you expand that broader, like outside of denomination, you tend to find that same thing, period. I'll give you a perfect example. I was reading this book about this guy. Man, I forgot what it's called, but it's called let me see if I can find it real quick. But it's a book about culture, right? And it's very inspiring because it kind of sometimes we kind of look at other people's culture and we kind of like make our face up at it a little bit because we like, why would you do that? Why they do that? Why they do that? But the book is called Misreading Scripture with Western Eyes. And what it does is it attempts to look at when we look at other people's culture, sometimes we tend to like put on our little glasses and we kind of like project what we currently now believe and hold to be truth or whatever we hold it to be. And we project that on a group of people that have no idea about any of that stuff. And so this guy talks about he's a missionary in Indonesia, I believe. And he's like, his family are there. And he's like, he noticed that one morning he wakes up and this dude is in his house. And he's like, yo, you want some tea? And he's like, wait a minute. Huh? Right? Huh? What? What's going on? So after the third or fourth time, he's just like, all right, well, this is what they do. See, personal space and privacy is different than it is in the West. So one example was, him, he I guess he was with the guy. I guess he told him, hey, I'm gonna go and read my Bible and pray or whatever the case may be. And he was counseling the other guy to do the same. I'm just kind of giving like I'm just trying to paraphrase it. And the guy was like, why would I want to read my Bible and pray by myself? That doesn't make any sense. Wouldn't I much rather want to do it with my family? But we didn't think about that. We all like, you need to have your own personal relationship with God and all this other stuff like that. But these people think totally different. It's like, why would I want to have a relationship with God outside of my family? Like let's all do it together. So you see, like the mentality, right? The culture is different. So the man said he started the church. He told them that it started at like 12 o'clock. No, I think it was like 10 or 11 o'clock. He was like, people was rolling up like 2 and 3. And he's like, well, wait on, hold on. This is not in your mind. You're thinking, is this a black church? Like, no, these are people from Indonesia. And so they just started rolling. But the funny thing is like they all started rolling up together late. It's not like people trickled in, but they all showed up together. And so he's confused, like, why are you people up late for church? You should be here on time, right? And they're like, yeah, when we get here, we get here. That's what it is. And nobody tripped. Nobody tripped. And so I mentioned that to say, like, on a broader scale, like, sometimes the issue that we have is that we are looking at someone else's culture through our own lens, our own filter, and we find things that are wrong. And the best way to overcome that is to spend time with people who are different than you. And what I find out is that most people in our Western culture don't really know Black people, don't really spend time with Black people. I'm sorry to ramble on, but I have a coworker. We were talking, and we all went on a work trip out of the country, and there were certain things that happened to me that we could clearly see that I was singled out, right? International. I was singled out for certain things, certain searches and things of that nature when other people could walk by who were with me. And I remember her getting so mad, like she was upset. Like, I don't know why they would do that to you. Why? That's crazy. I was gonna say, I'm like, no, don't say nothing. But she was
all you're gonna do is make it worse.
And so she had a conversation with me the other day, and she was just saying like how she has a hard time explaining that to people that look like her. Like, this is what's going on. They just seem to not get it. And I, like my parents and and I'm just like, hold on, wait a second. I said, do they have any Black friends? Forget from where. Do they have any people like me that they hang around with? They're like, no. And I'm like, well, how do you expect to explain that to him? I was like, you spent 5 days with me, just 5 days. And within the first 2 days, you already gleaned something from off of my experience. You seen my
Mm-hmm.
bag,
Mm-hmm.
right? You saw my bag and you
Right.
saw how I got identified based on my bag.
Right.
Just that little time. And like I was like, you can't realistically expect for them to change their mind off of something you saw. I said their main issue is that they don't know black people. They haven't sat down with black people. They haven't seen black people do normal stuff, right? Besides when they see them at the grocery store, maybe, but they never see. And that's why sometimes when black people go into other spaces and they do stuff, it's almost like, well, what are they doing here?
Right.
Are they coming to start something here? I think we
No,
gotta
it's true though.
right?
It's
Because we're
true.
not black people don't do it's like we're not normalized. Like because you don't so we live in a society where you don't have to deal with black people if you don't want to,
Right.
right? But we always
But
have to deal with
there you go.
exactly.
You saying it.
So I mean a lot of it is just like we can live right next door to each other and never engage. So I think it's just a purposeful engagement. I think that'll really help us understand, and we're not even the biggest consumers of our own culture when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
intellectual properties such as merchandise, music, whatever. Like even with hip hop music, if we want to say that's black culture, those are just one of the things that we put in bags, and some people have it in common. Some
Mm-hmm.
black people only listen to jazz, but you
Mm-hmm.
will see that the largest consumer of that type of music are not black people. It's actually white people and men between a certain age demographic. So you know what I'm saying? So like
And
what?
embracing and not just embracing, but just being open-minded to understand other people. Like you said, it just makes sense to me because I'll give you an example. So this young man, Tyree, as we mentioned before, was murdered by the cops. And the first thing everyone, because the parents were telling stories, so on and so forth. He was the type who liked to skateboard, photography. He was into anime. They told the story of when they tried to give him some $200 Jordans and he didn't want the $200 Jordans. He wanted the Vans, right? And when that story went out, I noticed a lot of people, specifically non-Black people, that latched onto those. And to me, it felt like they were trying to make him not so Black.
Mm.
Like they shouldn't have killed him because he likes anime. They shouldn't have killed him because he wears Vans. They shouldn't have killed him because, you know what I'm saying? He liked to skateboard. Not understanding that that's the culture side, that's not necessarily the Black side. Because in whatever culture he's a part of, it involves, in the skateboard culture, you're more likely to wear Vans than you are to wear Jordans. That only makes sense. Those people who like skateboarding, not always, right? But a lot of times they're into things like anime. So it's a part of that culture. But that culture doesn't automatically negate the Blackness that he is.
And that's a perfect example when I talk about having that the bag, right? The common struggle bag, right? You may have anime and skateboarding and all that inside the bag, but you still got the struggle bag. So no matter what you put inside of it, it's still the same bag, right? And so you expect to be held accountable for the bag, and not necessarily the stuff in the bag.
So
Right?
as I'm watching this, I'm like, they shouldn't have killed him because you don't need to be killing folk. It don't have nothing to do with because he's not as Black as
No.
somebody else, because you don't have a picture of him, you know what I'm saying, doing some whatever, because you don't have this picture where you can portray him as some sort of threat to society, because you can't get a hold of a picture like that. Now you want to try to make it seem like, well, he's not that Black.
And
So
and this
he's different from the others.
and this is why for those who are listening, it is great to like look at the things that like Frederick Douglass wrote, because I think um one of the things that I think like was the rub for him was that we live in this country that claims to have some ideals, right? And these ideals are stated to be found or held within the Christian worldview, right? And Frederick Douglass is like, I hold that same worldview. But the issue that I'm having is that you guys aren't reflecting the thing that you say is being held within your worldview. And because if you were, you would know that God created all men equal, right? And in his likeness. And therefore, I'm equal. We're all equal, and I'm in God's likeness. And so I should be, as American, treated in a certain way, but you guys are not doing that, right?
Right.
And so he's kind of pushing them. He's kind of like saying, he's rubbing them. He's kind of like saying, okay, y'all say y'all about this, but you're not doing this, right? Because I'm a human being, right? So let's all the slave and all that aside, right? We all have one common ground. We all mankind, and we're made in the image of God. And that wasn't held well, right? So now we
Right.
have to find a place we have to find reasons to show, okay, you know what? No, because of your color and because of your ancestry, you're not quite human, you're like something else. And so we have to find a way to justify that pseudoscience, all that other stuff like that. So the real issue is, how can we get black people their I want to say, what's the word for it? Their dignity back. And that's why they're able to look at Brother Nichols and say, well, he's that type. No, he's a human being, bro. Like, he's
Period.
a human being who just happened to I watch anime. And you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? And
Makai put me on.
look, I heard somebody saying, oh yeah, they didn't kill that dude, you know what I mean? They killed he was a square. He was a square. And I'm like, a square? Huh? Now we down to geometric shapes and stuff, like trigonometry and all that, like geometry. Like, what's really good? Is he a complementary or a supplementary angle? Like, what, obtuse, acute? I'm confused. I'm confused. But
Right.
that's where they lumped him in the pocket, even though he still has the struggle bags like the rest of us. You know.
You try to ignore that and just go to, and what frustrates me with our people is this, right? We want to invite everybody to the cookout. The moment you say anything that's halfway common sense, I'm with Black Lives Matter, you invited to the cookout. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand why. Remember the trend that was going on? Well, I don't know if you know, but on TikTok they had the trend: if you're a black girl, follow me and I'll follow you back. And you had some white people. Well, if you're white and only white, then I'm gonna follow you, and you're gonna follow me. We can only follow each other because these black women, they think everything is only blah 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 blah. Right? And then you'll have a couple white people that'll be like, "Yo, they want this is something for them to support each other. So therefore, you need to respect the fact that they want to. We don't have to be included in everything." And what's our first response? You invited to the cookout. For something that's common sense. Meanwhile, I could have been the first one in line to buy a Taylor Swift concert ticket, and I am not getting invited to the backyard barbecue. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we have this thing of, because of, I don't know what it is, because I don't want to misspeak. But for some reason, there's this desire to congratulate white people for the simplest things. I am a person, I am not going to reward you for what you're supposed to do. I never paid Makai for his grades. Why am I paying you for doing what you're supposed to do? I'll say good job. You know what I'm saying? And if you're consistent in this, then you start to reap certain benefits and certain privileges as time goes on, because you've shown that you're doing what you're supposed to do. I never paid him for chores. You live here. I'm not paying you to clean your room that you messed up. Like, I didn't go in there and throw your cars all over the place on my room. I didn't do that. You did that. So I'm not paying you to do that. Now, If you decide that you want to be so kind as to come and help me with my room, or you want to do my laundry, or you want to help Grammy, yeah, I'll shoot you something, right? But I never paid him. And to be honest with you, side note, okay, I think that's wrong. That's what's wrong with a lot of these young adults right now. They were paid for things and now they're entitled. So they teach their children to be entitled. So now you got a whole bunch of people walking around here talking about what they supposed to, and I got the right to this. In my day, okay, slam that door if you want to. You won't have no door about your privacy.
Yeah,
It'll come right off the hinges. Okay, and I dare you to try to put it back. Okay,
you be like lock up raw uncut, hanging sheets from the doorway.
Okay. So I've never been someone that believes in rewarding people for doing what they're supposed to do. Right? I'm not rewarding non-Black people for saying Black Lives Matter, because if you have any common sense, you see that, yeah, all the lives matter, but Black lives are the ones that's going out like this. So right now we need to speak up on this. All right. I'm not going to reward you for saying, yeah, the Black girl trend is cool and they should be able to have this. You can still follow people, but if they don't follow you back, it's all good. I'm not going to reward you because that's common sense. I'm not inviting you to my cookout because I don't know you.
So I guess for me, right, like I never understood, like, so what is the meaning of like that person being invited to the cookout? Like, what does that entail?
From my understanding, it is a symbol of, you know how white people be like, that's the acceptable Negro.
Mm-hmm.
You're this acceptable Caucasian. You can hang out with us because you understand, or you have some sort of empathy or whatever to what's going on. You get it. So because of that, this is your reward. You can now comment on certain things that we may not allow other people to comment on. You can now be a part of certain circles that we wouldn't necessarily allow your kind to be a part of. You're all of a sudden you're invited to our inner circle. Now we may reveal a little bit more to you because now we're comfortable. You're the exceptional, acceptable Caucasian that is invited to be in our little circle.
Well, if
that's our big circle.
Well, if that's the definition, that kind of like I could see that, but I would add one thing. I would say I don't have a problem with you coming to the cookout. It's just that you're not going to be operating the grill. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You're not going to take control over the whole situation, the whole narrative. But I'm in a space where I think when people do that, they should be. There's no problem with them being rewarded, but within reason, right? It's one thing to say, you know what, thank you for doing that. Because what that does is, for certain people, maybe they were definitely afraid to speak out at that point in time. They went to typing, erasing. They're like, oh my God, if I do this, I'm going to lose my job, right? I'm going to get canceled, right? And then they end up doing it. And then to see that there are people that, appreciated the comment, like, that's what's up. That's what's up. Thank you. We appreciate it. That may give them, kind of like a boost to continue to dialogue and say that information. It's just when that person now becomes a spokesperson for all things of the other cultures, where I think I might have the problem with.
And this is what I'm saying. In my example with Makai and the Greats, if you consistently do what you're supposed to, first of all, I'm not going to do something special because of a one-off.
Yeah.
So if you happen to get straight A's this semester, but you got D's and C's them other semesters, what are we doing right now? I'm not going out of my way, but I will tell you, good job.
Yeah,
because I want to push you to keep doing more. I'm just not about to say, okay, well, now I'm going to pay you.
Of course.
For getting, and that's what I think invited to the cookout is paying you in my, it's that far. I never mind when someone gets it, they get it. It can be acknowledged. But again, let's consider, if I say something, okay, all of us Black folk been saying those 5 cops, there's more, but we're talking about the 5 Black cops. They deserve everything they're getting. Throw them under the jail. You know what I'm saying? They were messed up. They got their privileges revoked from their fraternity. They were all accused. Well, 3 of them were accused. Their membership and everything was revoked, so on and so forth. We're all for that. I've yet to have a white person say you can come to the backyard barbecue. I have not been invited to the shindig. Okay, but the moment you say something, it's like a complete, like it wipes away. To me, it
I
feels
get what you're
like it
saying. It's like
wipes away everything else, and
yeah,
now you get it.
yeah. It's almost like it's unbalanced, right? To a
Very
sense,
much
yeah, it's
so.
unbalanced. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I could definitely see there being an imbalance there, and it's important to kind of keep that balance. I believe if I think as a society we have a strange relationship with truth, right? Everybody everybody has their truth. The only problem is what's true is true, right? Like I understand that's a fancy way of saying thing. I have my truth, you have your truth, but what's true is true. Two things can't be right at the same time if they're diametrically different, right? It just doesn't happen. So
Your
we
hat
have a
says Atlanta. It does not
yes,
say Florida, no
yeah,
matter
that's
how much I want it to be true.
and we call it objectivity, right? And so everything is very subjective, right? For us as a culture. And so if we start off like Frederick Douglass said, from the premise of all men are created equal and in the likeness of God, right? We have a foundation to say, okay, if the person was purple, if the person was blue or green, it doesn't matter. They assaulted this man for no apparent reason and murdered him. They're going under the jail. If we were to say this person has fixed this person's application so that they can no longer be qualified for a home loan in this area, they're they definitely need to go to jail, and that's wrong, right? If we become a society where objective truth is the foremost, then we wouldn't really have these types of problems. But
Right.
everybody's running around with their own view of what truth is, and we have this issue. And the only way to find truth, right, is to do what? We gotta have experience with it, right? When you deal with this is the same old, cliche analogy is counterfeit bills. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you spend enough time with the real bill, people could get really close. But if you know how to identify, if you know the identifying mark of a real dollar bill, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That you already know what it is. And sometimes when we don't treat people in that way, and so, I, if a person is so that same 1619 episode you watch, right? The guy, what would the lady say? The lady, they were talking about all the issues with the 1619 project and how people were coming out against it or whatever the case may be. And they showed one of the politician was like, everything in that project is a lie. And it's like, okay, okay. See, he would have been better understood if he said, there are a lot of valuable things about that 1619 project. But however, there are a few things that maybe be colored by a person's opinion or things of that nature. And they may have some historical errors in there that they need to fix. But overall, it was okay. We just don't like this part. Rather than him say that, he gave a complete lie, right? To give it extra sauce, to make it
Mm-hmm.
sexy.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants to investigate the 1619 project to see, well, are there any good elements as far as they're concerned? He said it's a lie, so it's a lie, right? No one wants to look for objective truth. It's like whatever someone tells you, like, and a lot of it comes from the fact that you really don't want to hear nothing else about it, right?
Right.
Because if there was a possibility that you can get a solar panel for free, paid for by the government of the United States, but you got to go look in a certain document to find it, people will go look for it, right? But nobody really cares about Black history. Nobody really
Right.
cares about, and I might forget Black history. No one cares about Black contribution to American history.
Right.
Nobody cares
Right.
about that because somewhere inside of that contribution, there was something that was done to deter people, and people don't want to feel like they have a responsibility. And so I'm not gonna. Why would I read that? That guy said it was all false. He said it's a lie, right? Because they wanted to believe whatever truth they wanted to believe.
And that right there, I was speaking to a person. I won't say who it was, but I was speaking to the person, and I kept saying, go watch the 1619 Project. I don't know if you got the book or whatever, but go watch the documentary. It's on Hulu. And everybody go watch it. It's on Hulu. And this person kept saying to me, yeah, they were talking about it with this, and they were against it. And they kept talking about the conflict and the chaos around it. And I'm like, but have you watched it? No, but I saw when they said such and such and such. And I had to say, listen, what I'm saying is all of that noise is a distraction to keep you from actually reading or watching whatever it is to be able to get this 1619 Project out there for you to. It's a distraction. And you want to know my evidence of that distraction? This whole time I keep telling you to watch the flipping documentary, and you keep saying, okay, I've sent it to you several times. I've sent you the link several times. I've told you to watch it several times. And you have spent more time watching the controversy about it than you have looking at it, right? So that's what that's what happens a lot of times. They phrase it like that, even though I would call BS on them if they tried to put it on some part of it is blah, 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 whatever. But you're right. You get more people that'll at least. That's the problem. You'll get people that will then want to look into it to find what's true and what's false. Well, now that I'm looking into it, now you've already lost. Because once I start to read it, now I have an interest. Now I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Did this happen? I didn't even know about that. Oh, snap.
And I will no longer listen to you. Because
now you presented yourself as a full
blown liar. Bald-faced lie. But here's the funny thing about it. This is what propaganda is designed to do.
Exactly.
Propaganda is designed to put you in a place where you won't go search for the truth yourself, because they've given you something, as the Bible says, you have itchy ears for already. And so you're not going to go look for it. I remember one time I was talking to his brother, and he was like, I don't know why you're a Christian, brother. He's like, Christianity was created by Constantine at the Council of Nicaea. And so I asked him, have you read the Council of Nicaea? Have you read it? And he was like, no one has ever challenged him on that. No one ever asked him, do you know what it actually says? Do you know what the argument was at the Council of Nicaea? Do you know what it's about? He had no idea, but he only heard what he heard from the people making the noise around the controversy, right? The sexy phrases and comments. And now he took it as though that was his objective truth and never investigated further. And that's what most people do.
Especially nowadays, where you have social media, where, you have your clip on IG, unless you want it to be a reel, it has to be like a minute or less. So you get the nice little sound bite that says exactly what you needed to say. Jump in and jump out. Go about your business.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna. I saw it on social. I think I brought this up a while ago, but there was a commercial a while back, and the person is they're walking their dog or whatever, and they run into another person or whatever the case. You remember? And it was like, it's true because I saw it on the internet. It was like, duh, like I saw it on the internet. So of course it's true. And that's how we live. It was bad enough before when it was word of mouth. Maybe your parents didn't have enough to get, Encyclopedia Britannica and all the other things.
Or if they got the Bobo version of the encyclopedia, I had the blue ones. My mom spent some good money on that, though.
Hey, period.
And I was reading them though. I learned a lot.
That does not surprise me.
But that leads me to a question, though. I have to ask you.
What's up?
If we didn't have social media today, right? What do you think would be the description of Black culture? If we had no way of you couldn't see music videos, you couldn't see Black movies, you could see them, but they weren't like easy access. What do you think Black culture would be like? What would people say? Do you think people would say Black culture is?
I think Black melanated people would pretty much be on the same path that we are now in terms of um what most people say, the music, the food, the overcoming oppression, so on and so forth.
Mm.
For non-melanated people, I think it would be defined as the stereotypes, whatever stereotypes they may be. Because without the internet, you only have as an example what you see in person or what has been filtered through the television for you to be able to see. So without people telling you that your hair is your crown, all you're getting are commercials for how to straighten your hair without somebody countering and saying you don't have to do that. If you're not seeing they're not seeing every year we end up getting, well, on my timeline, I get these different high school graduates that got X amount of thousands of dollars in scholarships because they were just killing it. Like, and we get to see these young people that graduated early, that are young doctors, that are this, that, and the other. Well, without us being able to push that into non-melanated people's faces, they wouldn't believe it exists. In my opinion, because they have is whatever's on TV, and we don't control the TV. We don't control what comes on there. We now have apps and stuff where we can do our own thing, but for the most part, we don't control it. That's the reason why for immigrant Black people, like one lady at the church I used to go to, she said when she was coming up here, she just knew she was about to be killing it. She was about to be like, literally picking up money off the ground because everybody got it here.
The land of milk and honey.
You see what I'm saying? She came here and went to New York. And I think she was in Brooklyn. And it's like a whole bunch of them living in this one bedroom something, and it's just tight and nobody have money for nothing.
And the roaches them.
You see what I'm saying? Because all she had was what she saw on TV.
Yeah. I understand. I understand that.
What about you?
Yeah, I think our Black culture would be filtered through your local community if you happen to live around Black people. So your representation as a Black person, your representation will come from the people around you. I tend to try to strip things down to the basic elements to see would I have drive to obtain success as a Black person if I didn't have access to media. And I would have to say, like, just looking at the people that look like me around me, I think I would obtain success. I would have that drive, right? And I think it goes back to what Black people did before media, where they started whole towns and people of certain professions came and they started whole communities, right? And they didn't have media to do that, right? But they were able to kind of construct that and push each other towards greatness. And if there was any stereotypes, like you said, there would be stereotypes. Those stereotypes will be easily defeated by seeing what we're doing, right?
Depending on where you are.
Depending on, of course, that's why I mentioned first. Depending on, I'm saying
because
as a Black person.
In Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. I'm just saying, like, depending on where you are,
yeah,
it would have to be based on your community if there was no access to like the vast media of portrayal, like, right? Because I've heard people saying that, there was a guy who, unfortunately, he lived in Japan. I think he might have been in the military or something, but he decided he was going to try his hand at dating. So this guy is, he's fair-skinned gentleman, bald head, Black guy. And nice looking brother. So he decides to go on this date that he met this lady online or whatever. And, at the time he's not driving because he doesn't have a license there. And so she says, okay, I'll pick you up. So this young Japanese lady comes to pick him up, and he gets in her car. And when he gets in her car, he looks around, and she has like pictures of like Ti all in the car. So she fetishizes about this black rapper. And
Right.
so when she sees this guy that kind of favors Ti a little, he doesn't look anything like Ti, but to her,
But
favors Ti.
hey.
Automatically, she's like, "Oh, I want to go out with him." She may not want to be with him for him, but the fact that he looks like something that she idolized,
Hmm.
right? And I think that's what media does. It makes us idolize the good and the bad, right? And so a lot of black people that I know, they don't really, some of them don't want no part of that stuff right there.
Hmm.
They don't want none of the part of that stuff that's being portrayed. They don't even, some of them don't even listen to it. They don't watch it.
Hmm.
Right. And so a lot of it, like I, so just to come back around, like I think a lot of things will be reduced to what you see in your immediate area, in your immediate community, provided that there is something there.
I think for us specifically and those like us, I think an added, and I'm going to call it bonus, would be our immigrant side. Because
Mhm.
once again, when your parent comes from a place where they were given a certain level of confidence in who they are, just because I am who I am, it's not in comparison to a white person or just a non-black person. I'm dope. Everyone around me looks like me in some form or fashion. They bring that with them. And when they birth us, we have the American struggle side, but I think we also have a certain level of pride. Well, I can speak as a product of a Jamaican. Because in the Caribbean, the Jamaicans got to be probably the most confident, right? You can't tell him nothing, okay? Because
Mm-mm.
Jamaica's the best, and that's just what it is, right? So, but having those certain, they were allowed to have pride without it being a subject, just by being. We in America, pride is taught intentionally. We
Mm.
intentionally write books to tell our little boys and our little girls that your skin is beautiful, that your crown is beautiful. We intentionally write the songs that say I'm black and I'm proud. We intentionally, say these things, have Black History Month where we go and delve deep into. So we're very intentional in this country with teaching pride, whereas pride is a given when you're surrounded. See, white people have their, and I don't mean white pride in the racist way, but I'm just saying I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud, you know what I'm saying, whatever the case may be, because from the womb they're taught that they are superior. They're entitled to whatever it is that they want. The world is their oyster. And I don't care if you're coming from a trailer park or you coming from a mansion. There's a certain level of grace that you're given from the womb when you lack melanin. And because of that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that I believe that for someone who's I got the taught pride from my daddy's side and my uncle who was born in America. My mom's brother uncle that was born in America and embraced his Americans, his just Americanness. But I also got it from this other side that just feels like, you know what I'm saying? You see Safari all the time. About madness. This just, you know what I'm saying? Street. That's just, he exude. It doesn't matter how much you clown that man. And I'm Jamaican, so therefore I'm great. I don't care if you say I can't rap. I don't care if you say I can't whatever. I don't care if you laugh at my coconut oil. I don't care. I'm Jamaican, so therefore I am great. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a
Yeah.
difference in there.
Well, here in America, I don't know. I mean, I have to look at it and see, is it taught pride, or is it due to the fact you have no perceived opposition or competition? And the reason why I say that is because black people in America face the most struggles when they were doing well, when they had businesses and they were operating and contributing to the community. That made a lot of, and I mean, I say a lot, I don't like general, that made some people very insecure about
I'll
who
say
they
a
were. So if it was a pride that was taught, that might not have been a that pride is weak. Because if it was real pride being taught, it doesn't matter who's competing. You just say, I'm gonna compete back, right? But when it's like I got to destroy somebody because they're doing better than me, I don't think that's taught pride. I think that's a taught insecurity. I think that's somebody who's being raised to feel inferior, right?
Well, yes, and to counter that, that's what I'm saying. To counter that, these days we have things like the books that say "Know that you're beautiful." We have things like this shirt that says melanin and has different shades. There, where I'm not saying this, I don't know because I wasn't alive then. I don't know how true it is for before my time, but I know now in 2023, pride is being taught to Black Americans.
Yeah, m- my Caribbean side, right, immigrant side, you know, when you really start to talk to some individuals, you realize that although they were in the Caribbean and they came here, some battle with very deep self-esteem issues, right? And when you have these conversations, it's like, well, when I see you out here, like you don't look like you right, like you have no, like you just seem like you just know, you just doing whatever. And a lot of times it's really like that's like something they put out in the front so so everybody can
Pride.
see, right? But it's not, it's a wall that's not supported by anything. And sometimes things can knock it over. You can peek through and you can see. And um that just shows that sometimes we got to do what we got to do to get done the things that need to get done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that is a human a human issue, right? You know, you have to you got to survive in whatever element. And sometimes your environment is conducive for your growth. If you see somebody, we all are seeds, right? But there are different seeds are for different plants. A daisy, we can plant that somewhere in a very cold climate and it may not survive. But those evergreen trees, you plant it in a certain environment and it'll survive, right? And so we all have struggles in certain areas, and we all have those bags that we have to reach in and grab those tools to help us get through what we're getting through. And I think if we look at culture and the things, the elements within culture, and treat them like tools that help us survive in our environments that we're in, I think we kind of can eliminate all of the drama between you're not like me and we're not like you and we're totally different, right? Because we all have this goal. We got to survive here. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. And as a melanated people, um, we all have a very similar struggle. And I agree with everything you're saying. And in addition to it, it's, my point is the pride that I'm talking about is you have to dig to find. You see what you said? You said you have to, you have to dig and you'll be able to see a little crack and whatever to be able to see that. But I notice in general speaking, that side of my family, they push forward in a different way. And it's not the American side's fault. Again, when you're taught from the womb that you are inferior, and it's not till you get to a certain level that people start saying, hey, you are beautiful, you are this, you are that. But from the womb, and when I say from the womb, I'm talking about as a mother in the hospital, in pain, and the doctor won't give you medication because you're Black. From the womb, you are taught that you are inferior. From the time you are getting pushed out of your mother's vagina, you are being taught that you are inferior because you're not getting the same care, the same song. You grow up and it's harder. The pride of people who come from a place where everyone looks like them, there's a different breakdown in why they may feel insecure in things. It's different because theirs come from something else. It's not coming from white people telling you from the beginning that you are less than. So I agree with everything that you said. We about to go to commercial. Before we do, I want to encourage everyone that's watching this. I know a lot of y'all don't like to read, so go ahead and go on Hulu and just look up the 1619 Project.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
No, I'm saying, yeah.
Go to 16. Look up the 1619 Project. I think there's 4 episodes now. There's gonna be 2 more coming out. I believe.
I'm not sure. I thought they were all on there. I thought they were.
I know it's like 2 a week, but you know, there's more. I think there's more coming. There is more coming, unless it came out and I didn't see it yet.
Yeah, I think there's like 5 now, but I would also, counsel viewers, when you watch that, they do give, they show pictures of documents, and you can go look up those documents and look up those sources. Don't feel like you have to take what they say as the absolute truth. You can go and look those things up if you really want to know. And even if you really don't want to know, at least be armed. So that way, if somebody says something to you, you can have something
what it
intelligent
is.
to say back. At least that if the pride side of you is like, I got to have an answer for everything, then you may want to go just look those references up. But it's some truth bombs that, they're objective. It's written in history. And so there's no way around it unless you want to lie to yourself. So even if you don't agree with it, take a look at the sources and then come to your own conclusion, but at least be informed.
At least be informed. And yes, I definitely agree with that. I don't believe any of us should take anything at face value when it's coming from another human. Research and find different, because you can find the first thing that they reference, and then you can go and find other things and be really informed on some stuff. You feel what I'm saying? If you a traveling type of person, the same way you can look up the coolest restaurants that's in the area that you're traveling to, you can see if there's some historical sites that you can go and get some information from. So arm yourself with that information, so that we can Black culture is American culture, and once all of America understands that, I think that we'll be able to.
Man, drop that mic, dog. Drop that mic, dog.
So
go ahead, drop that mic, dog. Just drop that on the floor, cuz. Just drop that mic, dog. You done summed up the whole thing, cuz. You done summed up the whole thing. We over here talking about an hour. And I'm talking about you just came in there 30 seconds, dog, just laid it down. So now what you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Everybody know what you're talking about. You know what I'm talking about?
This is part of the culture too. I just want everybody to know that. That whole situation that just happened.
Shut the whole plate down. You know what I'm talking about? She shut it down.
We gonna go to commercial on the other side of the breaks where I talk about me and just me. We gonna get Jay's way. Oh, I like it. We'll be back, y'all.
She thought walking away was hard to do, until walking away led to truth. Discovering a peace that was hovering, but never before allowed to enter her soul. She thought she'd grow old and even cold. If life continued on the trajectory it was headed, complacency seemed inevitable. Until she took a look at herself and said, I'm betting on you. Exploring new worlds and new views, different energies and attitudes. Allowing her heart to be open, it became consumed by what could be described as a fantasy, far from tragedy, no. A dream that if told in a story would seem too good to be true. Taking the form of perfection, physical frequencies felt through erections, emotional energies flowing like oceans. Ocean brings forth life anew, birthing art inspired by Mahogany's muse. "30 is only a dream away. and Jess Copeland can feel it. Her unexpected journeys are filled with unpredictable obstacles, but she finds escape in her poetry. However, each rhyme she creates reveals that her life's path is still unwritten. Rather than face the unknown in fear, Jess cherishes a sense of peace in knowing every day she's given a blank page to fill with lines of her destiny, however colorfully chaotic it may be.
Did you see me doing Oh, you on mute.
I am so dope, yo. Damn. My melanin skin stay popping as the sun glistens and kisses every bit of me. My presence brings peace. I am a queen on a frequency with my kings, and that's just a little something light to start with. See, my hair can defy gravity, and its texture is everything. Everything. I am the beginning, possessing the Eve gene. Damn, I am so dope, yo. My lips are thick, my hips are perfect. The brown that covers my thighs can bring tears to your eyes. But there's so much more to me than my outside. Take a look inside my mind. Delve deep with conversations and enjoy the ride. Learn when you ask why. In me, many answers reside. My wisdom can help open that third eye once blind. I'm so damn dope, yo.
Allow me to proceed with this hood drama, this ghetto saga. Turn off the lights and bring out the candelabra. 'Cause everything I'm about to tell you is the truth on my mind.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We had a beautiful conversation talking about culture, Black culture in particular. One of the things that I admire about Black culture here in the United States is a group of people who identified themselves with the historical people, being the Jews, who face adversity, being slaves, and so many of our foreparents that experienced slavery during the transatlantic slave trade identify with these groups of people because they felt like they were in the same predicament, waiting for freedom, for liberty to be restored to them. And that actually did something to Black culture in America that kind of gave a common thread of hope. Sometimes people may say, this religion of Christianity was kind of pushed on Black people during slavery. But I like to kind of give you another look at that. Maybe there were some Black people who saw the message of Christianity and could identify with it and accepted it and believed it for what it was and not because of what somebody pushed on them. And you can see that common thread all the way up to the civil rights movement, where one of the biggest places for political change was in the Black church, where politicians came to Black churches trying to figure out how they could win the votes of the Black folk, coming in and promising things and talking to the clergymen and saying, hey, look, man, if you come out here and vote for me, I'll make sure that, because they noticed there was a common thread between faith and their hunger for freedom and rights. And so I think we'll never be able to take that part of Black culture here in America away. It's definitely ingrained. So that concludes Jay's Way.
A lot of times people get so caught up in one way of thinking that they don't consider anything else. And sometimes we could be so woke. I'll be calling people insomniacs.
Right. Doesn't media teach you to hate that word? I get so
Yo,
mad when people use it. I'm like, stop using
well,
that because
yeah,
y'all don't
yeah,
using it the right way.
not at all, not at all. But sometimes you don't consider possibilities of other things.
Yeah.
And I can respect and appreciate your point of view. I definitely can. Those of you watching, what's your opinion? You can leave a comment on YouTube, UVV TV. Don't forget the quotes. You can go to Facebook, leave your comments there under any of our profiles. Doesn't matter. We all gonna see it and share it and all that type of stuff. But let us know what your opinion is. And we're all for. We just finished talking about learning what other people think, being open to understanding what other people think. I may not agree with you, but I like to hear other people's point of view just so I can know where other people coming from, right? Makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you so much. So every third Thursday, you're going to get Jay's way. Jay's going to always have something to say. Bars. You know, I had to get it in one episode.
Two times for the day already. You already did that. Go ahead, drop the mic one more time, baby.
They don't even know. They don't even know.
They don't even know, they ain't even know, y'all.
They don't even know. But remember, UVV TV, don't forget the quote, has the lineup. We have And Your Point Is on Tuesdays, Unvaccinated Voices on Wednesday. It's Just the Conversations on Thursday. We're going to have Sunday jazz brunch powered by YouTube on Monday. No, Sunday. Soon we're going to have the UVV TV Comedy Hour as well as the Hintons. The UVV Comedy Hour is going to be super dope because remember, Eddie Clark, he's a comedian. You know what I'm saying? So this is his roots. So he's gathering some people who's going to be showcased, and that's going to be really dope. The Hintons, super dope. Last year when you saw them, they were engaged. This year they are married and they got some things to say. On time. Super cool. And then my daddy gonna have his NASCAR minute. I told y'all last week. Listen, NASCAR is fun. It's not just a bunch of left turns. I tell you this week, like I told you last week. That's what people be saying. You know what I'm saying? I went to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Me and these drunk white people had a good time. You hear me? Okay. We had a good time. I had my ear things in most of the time. But that little man, we were lit in there. So we're gonna have the NASCAR minute where he's gonna give the breakdown of some stuff. So we got some really fun things here in 2023 and things coming in 2023, and I'm super excited about all of it. All right. Before we go, remember I told y'all gonna get an activity once a month. So next week you'll get your activity, but there's a consistent one that's, we're here every week. And I'm gonna say the same thing. If your birthday falls on this week, I need you to make sure you go and you find someone who has helped you through the last year of your life and be like, yo, on my birthday, here's a card, here's a gift, here's some dinner, here's something. I want to show you that I appreciate you for helping me get through the last year of my life. I told y'all before, for December 13th, we were not on the air, but I definitely had to shout out my babies, Ava and Johnny, brother and sister. That's their names. Okay. Let me see if I know my daddy got a picture in here because he always got a picture. But Johnny and Ava, I definitely let them know that they are. Here we go. Oh, we gotta update these pictures. Wow. There go Johnny. He's a big man now. He's walking. And there go Ava. She's a big girl now. She just does whatever she wants. But I had to let them know I appreciate them because, them being brought into this world and going through everything they went through and surviving showed me that we got survivors in this here family. So make sure that when your birthday come, go ahead and shout out somebody and let them know you love them. And you appreciate them for helping you get through the last year of your life. Okay. All right. Well, Jay, this was a great episode.
Yes,
we had some hiccups. So this is going to be heavily edited, but it's not going to be because I'm cutting out stuff that I don't want to say. Everything I'm saying is saying. It's just that we had some powerful stuff and my FBI agent must not have wanted us to hear it because he kept, interfering stuff.
You got to, in order to get to the glory, you got to go through the gutter, man.
Hey,
Gotta
it's
hustle
all
together.
good. It's all good because we made it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
out
about?
together, out the mud.
Out the
You know what I'm
mud. You know what I'm talking about? So as usual, it was a pleasure. I will see you next week. We get Jay back to back. I'll see you next week on Lyrics and Poetry. Following week, we're gonna have free. So hey, keep tuning in. We got some great things going on this year. All right, Jay. Love you, bro.
Love you too.
And we'll see you
Peace.
next week.
Remember, you can find It's Just a Conversations and so much more at melanatedverses.com. Also, follow me on social media platforms at Melanated Verses.
This is just a conversation. We gotta do no more than observation. They're telling us to be patient, but we won't take it. We will not be complacent. We cannot erase us. That's why the history and all our innovation. We're just having conversation. We gotta do no more than observation. This is just a conversation.